今天我们邀请中国末路的作者来到现场，
好开心哦，因为他就是那个时候我们在讲新闻的时候。就是
新闻主角本人，
对，就是在中国，然后上海，然后最后一刻，然后中国公安来敲门要你滚。
对，
其中一位记者，
然后他想尽办法，然后逃出中国。
然后他竟然写了一本书，
对，居然可以写出来，真的是 so smart。然后他现在在这边，
他现在坐在我旁边，
超开心的。
让我们欢迎的作者是 Michael Smith， 耶！
早上好，
早上好，早上好。
So how much did you understand our opening?
Not much at all.
Okay.
I've forgotten all my Mandarin. It's terrible.
Don't worry.
We read your fascinating book. I think it just tells the whole story, like your experience in Hong Kong, in China, and how you got out of China in the last second. Like, what exactly happened in the last few days when you're in China? You got evicted, pretty much, right? Or they try to capture you, pretty much.
Yeah, so basically what happened, the Australian government called me one day and said, hey, you're in a bit of danger. You've got to leave China. And I didn't really believe them, but I I packed my bags and bought an airline ticket anyway. And that night, it was after midnight, public security police came to my house. So they banged on the door, came into my living room. I'm sitting there in my boxer shorts, in my underwear, freaking out. I didn't know what was going on. I thought they were going to take me away to prison, but they told me I was a person of interest in a national security investigation and that I couldn't leave the country. So it was pretty terrifying, to be honest.
Oh, they did tell you couldn't leave the country?
Yeah, so they put an exit ban. They call it an exit ban, so it means you just can't leave China. So I was like a prisoner in China,
but
basically.
But in the book, you said that they also made you sign a lot of stuff, right?
Yeah, so they had a huge television camera spotlight on me. They pulled out this 3-page document in Chinese. They made me sign it. I didn't really know what I was signing. And then they suddenly got up and left. So, I was sitting there thinking, this is it. They're going to take me to jail because another Australian journalist had been detained, a few weeks earlier.
Peng Li, right?
Yeah, Chung Lei. Yeah. And then, so of course, I rang the embassy. I then found out the exact same thing had happened to another Australian journalist in Beijing at the exact same time. So it was sort of a coordinated campaign against us. And then the next day went into the embassy and we had sort of some high-level meetings and they said, you're in big trouble. We're going to put you in consular protection, diplomatic protection. And they put me in a car, or this huge van with diplomatic number plates, which means you're meant to be protected.
Yeah, the police cannot stop you on the street, right?
And then they drove me to my house. So I lived in a laneway, pulled into the laneway. They said, a diplomat's going in to get your partner. He's got 5 minutes to pack his bags and then you're leaving.
Oh, wow.
So they bundled him into the car, got my laptop and everything. And then we drove to the Consul General's house. So he lives in this big mansion in Shanghai, and drove into the gates. And then they said, right, you've got to stay here until we work out how to get you out of China.
Oh, but when we were listening to this part, when I was listening to this part of the book, I feel like you made so many mistakes along the way. I gotta say this. I just gotta say it out loud.
I thought you were gonna warm up a little bit.
I gotta say this. Just like, first of all, when China makes a threat, it's a threat. You were like, oh, I don't know. They're not going to do anything to me because
I'm white.
Yeah.
I'm white.
yes. Basically.
But it's kind of like that, right? Because as a Taiwanese, if we heard that if Chinese government is going to do something to you, we're like, oh shit, this is real. We're going to run, right?
Yeah.
So I think our reaction would be a little bit different.
Yeah.
And second of all, in the book, you say you book a ticket through China Far Eastern Airline.
China
Eastern Airline.
You know that's still considered their territory if you go on the plane.
Why didn't you book a Qantas airline, like an Australian-owned airline?
Oh, there's a good reason, because there were no other airlines flying out that day. Because of COVID, the borders were closed, so Qantas had stopped flying. So I would have definitely booked Qantas. Yeah. So there was no choice but to go on a...
Okay.
You know that if you get on their plane, they can fly you straight to Xinjiang or something, right?
And we were warned about that. They said you are not safe until you're out of Chinese airspace. So even when I was on the plane, I'm sitting there watching that little map going, it's like, get me out of Chinese airspace.
But they're just expanding their airspace as they just redefine airspace all the time, right? Because like in Taiwan, we see them redefining their air defense identification zone all the time. So we're like...
that's right.
But I really appreciate the way you wrote this book because
It's
so honest.
Yeah, you're just
You're
so honest.
You keep telling us that I think it's gonna be okay. I don't know what's gonna happen, but looking from now, you know what's gonna happen, right? But you're still being really honest and said that you didn't know.
Yeah.
So we appreciate that.
Yeah. And the reason why we sort of ignored the warning, I guess, because there was no precedent for foreign journalists in China to be detained. It had never happened before. So, of course, if you're ethnically Chinese, you are in more danger. It's a really sad situation, but it never happened before. But then
the one before you had dual citizenship, right?
Yeah,
That's
so
the person.
she was born in China.
So you think you have
So
privilege.
we thought we were immune, but we were wrong. And then the ambassador said, "Hey, remember those two Canadian guys? Like one was an ex-diplomat. They got locked up." So of course, China's changed now. I mean, it's getting more and more dangerous for journalists.
But what was your first experience with China? When did it happen?
Very first, because
sorry to interrupt. I really want him to say a little bit about the experience in consulate. I think
Oh,
people will
sorry,
love
sorry.
it.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
I'm so sorry.
Okay, let's go back to the part you were hiding in the consulate. I'm so sorry. Because in the book, you say that when you were hiding in the consulate, people tried to pretend that you were not there. Or
Party outside.
People party outside and make sure that things are moving along like normal, right?
So the day we had to go there, they were having this giant party at the Consul General's house for all these Australian businessmen and Chinese businessmen, and they said we can't cancel it now; it's too late. So they had to sneak us into the house. So there was this sort of drawing room off the front door, and they said, "Quick, go into this room. You can't come out. Stay quiet." And then I could hear all these people coming in and everyone's having drinks and chatting, and I knew some of them, so I could hear them talking. And it was like, "Hey, we're hiding out over here." And then one girl came in and she'd bring us some food and some drinks, and it was such a surreal experience because we were kind of quite terrified. We didn't know what was going to happen to us, and then there's this sort of normal life's happening on the other side of the door. But we were there
Will you be in the party if you wouldn't have locked up?
I don't think they invited any journalists, so maybe not.
I see. Okay.
It was business.
Yeah.
Just
part of
business.
And then it was really weird. We spent 5 days in this house. I was thinking, I'm going to be like Julian Assange and living here for, years. And we were living with a consul general and his family and his kids. And they'd bring in food and they'd give us wine. And then at the same time, we're having these really serious meetings going, you guys are in big trouble. What are we going to do? It was just really weird, and we couldn't leave the house, obviously.
But how did your partner take it? William, right?
Yeah, William. He was.
What was it like for him for the 5 days?
Can I swear? I mean, he was.
You can swear. It's
can
okay.
swear.
He was really pissed off. I mean,
That's not swearing.
was he pissed off at you or at the Australian government or
I'm
at
sure
China?
both. Come
everyone.
on.
Yeah. So he knew it wasn't my fault, but of course he blamed me because that's what your partners do. So he totally blamed me, and he didn't. He was saying, "I'm not in danger. I'm going home." We had a dog at home. He said, "I'm getting out of here," and the diplomats were begging me, saying, "Please tell him not to leave. He's in danger." So he was really angry, and he had a great life in Shanghai, and he had a business, and he didn't want to leave. But in the end, we convinced him to stay.
Oh wow!
Stay in the consulate.
Yeah.
But it just because he also got dual citizenship, right?
Yeah, so he's an Australian citizen, but he's Hong Kong Chinese. So
But Hong Kong
That
don't
sounds
count
like a
anymore.
really
no, so in a way he was in more danger than me because he's ethnically Chinese, so they probably would have just detained him.
Yeah, but it just fascinates me because throughout the book, it just feels like William thinks that he's in the clear.
Yes.
But obviously he's the one in the most danger.
Yes.
Right? But just like, how come he's so immune or unaware of his situation? I'm just curious.
We're really curious.
Yes.
We're curious.
Because he's even more optimistic than you.
Yes. Well, I think at the time it happened so
you guys
quick.
make a good couple. That's all we do.
I know. I think at the time, we didn't realize exactly what the situation was like. Even when the security guy, the police came into our house, when they left, he ran after them and he was yelling at them in Mandarin going, "I want a copy of the statement. What's it say?" And he was getting really aggressive with them. And they were saying, "Go." I know. And I was saying, no, don't say anything,
You
please.
acted more like Chinese at that moment.
Yeah. But the diplomats did say to me, they said, "Look, your partner's not a person of interest. We don't think they would target him, but as a precaution.
Yeah, they might use him against you, right?
Yes, yeah. So at the time, they did say, look, don't worry about him too much, but because he's your partner, you still have to be careful.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.